Good afternoon and welcome to NFTs Live. I'm your host, Tyler D. It is Tuesday, December 14th, and I'm joined today by Brett Richey, live from Vegas. Brett, how you doing?
Doing great, Tyler. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. Excited. We have a ton to cover from what was an fairly action-packed weekend, but then a huge Monday full of news. The show is totally different than it would have been had we went live yesterday morning. So on the docket for today, our top story, we're going to talk about Nike acquiring RTFKT and then some market reactions to that, specifically in CloneX. We're going to talk BAYC's new partnership with Animoca and their plans for a P2E game. Then we're going to hit the macro view with OpenSea and take a look at their Dune Analytics dashboard. That'll be our top news. Then we'll get into our market update. We're going to talk about Neo Tokyo and the Pet Hooligans. We're going to do our Around the Horn segments, hit one of ones, where we're going to talk about async art and the debut from Xcopy, Coldie, and a lot of money, along with a few other pieces. We're going to hit blue chip PFPs and art blocks, and then we're going to end with a quick segment on Hoodlums and their new VIP experience. Sound good? All right, let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and we'll fire up the screen share here. Top story, Nike Inc. acquires RTFKT. So this announcement came out yesterday. Let's take a look at a few of the quotes from the article here. From John Donahoe, the president and CEO of Nike, this acquisition is another step that accelerates Nike's digital transformation and allows us to serve athletes and creators at the intersection of sport, creativity, gaming, and culture. We're acquiring a very talented team of creators with an authentic and connected brand. Our plan is to invest in RTFKT, serve and grow their innovative and creative community. So this was the announcement that came out yesterday afternoon. The market went absolutely wild. And we'll talk about the impact on CloneX in that project specifically. But there's a lot to unpack here, Brett. Certainly, I'm interested on your take. So first off, the CloneX drop, before this news broke, it was fairly flooded. There's a lot of things that were kind of done wrong with the terms of agreement. And now there's rumors of insider trading and all that. But putting that aside for right now, how do you evaluate this move for Nike? Is this a good move by Nike acquiring RTFKT? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a good move by Nike. I mean, I haven't paid a ton of attention to RTFKT outside of this CloneX drop. I was a little bearish on it. I didn't like the 20,000 supply was more my concern, along with the price point. In this kind of environment, I thought there'd be a lot of sell pressure. Obviously, this Nike news completely counteracts that, so I was wrong. But my friends who were bullish on CloneX, when I was talking to them before during the drop or before this Nike news, they were like, "This is a top tier team. They're on par with Yuga Labs, the Bored Ape team, better than Larva. This is top 2 team in the space." They're like, "I'm backing them because I just believe in good teams." Again, I haven't paid a ton of attention, but I've multiple friends who share that sentiment. So if Nike is acquiring a top, I guess, NFT team, right, a metaverse team, right? They've done shoes too, right? RTFKT, like, I think that was their first thing, or one of their main things has been fashion and metaverse shoes. It fits right in with Nike. Nike is a $265 billion company, last I saw yesterday. So the acquisition is kind of irrelevant. I think the upside is really big for Nike. And it's really good for NFTs. Nike, phenomenal marketing machine. And then if you look at some of those athletes on their roster, some of the biggest stars in the world, maybe instead of signing with Air Jordan, they sign a basketball player with RTFKT for some sort of metaverse collab. It'll be interesting to see what happens. They could shelve it, right? It could go nowhere, or it could become a big part of Nike's brand.
It's going to be interesting to watch. So certainly the fit makes sense. You touched on the shoes. So for those who aren't that familiar, so RTFKT has done the digital shoes. They've also done physical with the CryptoPunks. They actually made custom shoes for every punk owner, which they could claim for 1 ETH. I want to say about 6 months ago now. And those shoes are actually worth quite a bit more now. It's interesting. There's been a bit of mixed reaction, at least in the NFT Twitter sphere. I think part of the negative sentiment is just concern on a big company taking over an up-and-coming Web3 brand And, are their ethos going to be different with respect to just driving value for shareholders versus sharing that with owners? Is that
I
going
don't
to
think
impact?
Artifact did a whole lot of sharing. Like, to me, every decision they made on this drop was benefiting themselves. There were 16 of the one of ones. They kept 7 for the team. The terms and condition. They had a Dutch auction that wasn't selling out, so that it was supposed to go down to 1. They paused it and just stopped it at 2. If you look, I think, at the decisions they've made across the board, it seems to be pretty, at least like Web2 take care of their shareholders as well. So I don't know that they're that different.
I tend to agree, but one thing that we can't argue with is the market reaction. I'm showing the page here. We 27,000 ETH traded in CloneX since the reveal on Sunday, so less than 2 days. I don't know that we have precedent for this level of a run up the floor. It quickly sank below 2 pre-reveal, post-reveal. It was about 2.5, and then the news broke. It ran past 6 overnight and sitting at mid-6. We're showing some of the top sales on the board here. There's been multiple sales over 100 ETH, top sales at 200, and then a 288 sale this morning. So it is moving into the stratosphere. The art is cool. They have a top artist, but it's going to be one to watch. It feels a little overheated right now, but there are a ton of eyes on this project. The other aspect of this, right, is one of the choruses of NFT Twitter and sentiment is we're early and more people are coming. Well, how are more people going to come and enter the space? It's through big brands like Nike and their marketing machines and reaching new users. So it's hard to feel like it's not an overall net positive for the space. And I tend to
the meme is always, we're so early. Everyone says it, gets a little annoying on Twitter, but it's really true. Like, we are in the first million users of this technology that I think is going to hit billions. Now, that doesn't mean the stuff I've bought is going to be worth a ton later. Like, a lot of the stuff is still going to be worthless, right? Like, you were early in the internet in the 90s. A lot of those companies went to zero. So that doesn't mean just buy whatever and you're going to get rich. But it does mean, like, you look at Nike, what Budweiser, Pepsi, Adidas, these are top tier brands.
Yep.
And making big plays into this space, especially because NFTs are very polarizing now, right? And so for this many brands White Castle to show faith, it's a really good sign. I'm really bullish on the industry as a whole, the future of it.
Totally agree. The brands are here and they're making an impact. Let's get to our next story and we'll talk about the next big trend, and that's P2E and gaming and tokenization. So a headline that got buried with the Nike news yesterday is Bored Ape Yacht Club signing a partnership with Animoca Brands to build a blockchain NFT game. We don't really have a whole lot of information other than that headline. The idea is that it will be a play to earn game, likely involving the mythical ape token that is said to be coming in Q1 or Q2 next year. So this is a big announcement. I did just a little bit about Animoca Brands here. So they are also tied in behind the Sandbox, which is one of the largest projects out there, and have done collabs with several other, and we'll link this article in our show notes so folks can read. But it shows, just again, Yuga Labs, the team behind Bored Apes, just continue to deliver, continue to find ways to drive value for their holders. We've seen the floor. It hasn't really moved much. It's been steady right at 53, but it is exciting time to be an ape owner. What was your reaction to this move?
I think it's a good move. I would be excited if I had an ape. I think play to earn is going to be very big. Just gaming in general involving NFTs. It is, to me, almost the perfect use case for NFTs. These in-game assets, and you can actually like, players can sort of share in the upside of a game that they formerly couldn't in the sort of Web2 structure. So I think it's bullish. I mean, these guys, they've built stuff before, right? I think it's smart. I think there's obviously some temptation. Bored Apes have a lot of money from their mutant sale and just secondary. I think sometimes there's temptation, like, we can build our own game. Games are very tough. I think it is much smarter that they just partnered with someone that knows what they're doing and they can just let them handle it. So I think it's a good move.
Totally agree. And I'm going to show here quickly the cryptoslam.io board. I think this is the first time we've shown this rankings board on the show. It's one of my go-tos when I want to take a step back and see all the primary projects across all the blockchains here and get a sense for where they all stack up. Number one, and it has been top of the board really since we've been tracking NFTs this year, it's Axie Infinity at 3.6 billion in overall sales. I fully believe that Yuga Labs and Bored Ape Yacht Club have their sights set on what Axie has done as a game, as P2E, and that's where they want to get, and they want that number one spot. And as we can see, if you actually add up the revenue from Bored Apes and Mutant Apes, they're over 1.2 billion, so they would be third on this board if you just combine these as Yuga Labs. So they've already made quite a splash just in 6 or 7 months here. All right, let's get into our third story for the day. And we've been touching on macro a bit as well, but I wanted to check in on, we're about halfway through the month. Where are we doing from terms of overall NFT sales revenue this month on OpenSea? And it's pretty positive. So if we take a look at December, we're already at 1.4 billion in sales here, less than halfway through the month. So we are projecting out right around the $3 billion month, which would be about the second highest, down just about 10% from peak mania in August. And then say more exciting, if you take a look at the daily board here in this chart up on the top right, yesterday was actually the highest volume day that we've had in the past 3 months since August, with coming in at 157 million in volume. And then today we're already at 100 million with still half the day left to go. So it looks like we're on deck for another big day, totally driven by the CloneX revenue, but a few other products doing well. I'm curious for your takeaways here, Brett. My takeaway is, we were all quite bearish in the October and November timelines and talking about the bear market on every show. It seems like the money is here, and it's been potentially on the sidelines waiting for the right opportunities. And clearly there has been some opportunities in the past month, and the money is coming back into the ecosystem. So it definitely seems like a bullish sign.
I think it's bullish. I think the gas fees are down. Price of ETH is down. To me, those are both good for NFTs. Like when ETH is when ETH is running and then the gas goes up because everyone's doing DeFi stuff, NFTs really struggle. And that to me is the worst time for NFT trading. The fee, it's 0.05 to buy something. Everything under 0.25 just gets crushed. So yeah, I think the macro is good now. It's end of the year, so you have people like a lot of NFT traders made money this year. The market was just so hot for a while that you'll have people tax loss harvesting, which we've talked about, right? Where you're going to sell some of the stuff you're underwater on at a huge loss to save some money on your overall profits. And that leads to good buying opportunities also, where you can get, a discount. Obviously, buyer beware. A lot of times the discount doesn't turn out to be, but it looks like it. But you can get, I think there's a lot of cheap stuff out there that if you have conviction on a project, now is a really good time to buy. And I'm not talking about the overheated, this is a peak of a project. I'm talking about some projects, prices are down 80, 50, 90%, something where, again, in the long term, a lot of these teams, they have a lot of money. If you did a drop, you usually have 500K to 2 million raised approximately. And if they're still building, I think there's a good opportunity.
I absolutely agree. For those plays that you've got some conviction on, you're able to snap up some NFTs right now at 50 to 80% discounts or more. So it could be a good time to go shopping. Of course, DYOR. Lastly, I want to touch on, you made a comment in that we're in the first million traders. Just checking in on total OpenSea traders over time. We're now up at 790,000.
It seems so crazy low to me. I thought it feels like it's 10 million, or more.
It does. And of course, that's just, unique wallets. So
I know. I have 8 wallets I've interacted with on OpenSea or something.
So the true number is probably closer to 300,000 or 400,000 still. So we're definitely still early, like we said, but certainly more users are going to be coming. All right. That's it for our top news. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at the IC board and get into our market update? So we're going to take a look at the 3-day view filtered by volume. We've touched on CloneX and Artifact plenty, but again, it is crazy to see these ETH volume numbers. We're at 36,000 ETH traded in the last 3 days. Just an astronomical number. CloneX is going to be a top 25 product all time within 3 days of its launch. So that just shows you the impact of an announcement like this Nike one.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it was going to be big anyway. But Nike, that's the 3x, like in every way.
Yeah, and we saw that. So the floors for the CloneX 6.4. So the unrevealed, the mint vials, folks still have the unrevealed NFTs. They're at like 12 ETH floor right now. Just everyone hoping for that shot at rolling a rare, which we've seen have traded over 100 or 200 ETH. So some speculation going on.
There was one, I looked yesterday. I think there was one of one unrevealed with 3,600 vials, 600 chance of that. I mean, there's a lot of other good rares that are a nice win, but of that, 200 ETH kind of one, I think there's one of those left.
So that's the upside. The downside's capped at 6.4 floor. So I see the gamble, but definitely a bit of risk. Before it became Artifact weekend, it was Neo Tokyo weekend. So Neo Tokyo dominated Saturday and Sunday. They did their Outer Identities drop on Saturday, and they did 6,000 ETH there over the weekend, which in any other 3-day period is likely that the top of the board. We saw the floor for that project get over 6. As that overall ecosystem continues to grow. So this is Alex Becker. There's several VCs tied to this project. It's one that I haven't been following super closely. I haven't been invested in this one, but it's hard to ignore what they're doing over there with that project.
Yeah, I haven't followed it very closely either. Some people I follow on Twitter were onto that early. I pretty much just missed it. And then my general thesis or strategy, when something runs up so much, I just don't hop on, for better or worse. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But on it, good job to the team and anybody that has been in this, because it's been a huge win.
Yeah, absolutely. Similar story for Townstar from Go Gala Games. So we see 1,800 ETH there. The Miranda's Vox drop that we talked about last week, that floor got to 3.8, still pre-reveal. So tons of market interest around that project. Then a new drop. So My Pet Hooligan, this wasn't even on my radar yesterday. 1,400 ETH volume in the last 24 hours. I'm going to show the project page just briefly. This is, I'd say, the hot trend right now in new NFT projects. So it's 3D metaverse avatar versus your 2D PFP, which was so hot in the last 6 months. Now we moved on to 3D, and it's got all the terms as well that are just so hot and peak interest. So we've got play to earn mechanics tied into this game where you can allow players to earn the carrots token while playing. They've got staking where you can stake your NFTs to earn carrots. They've got the 3D files. They've got Mint Pass. So this is a Genesis drop, Mint Pass for future drops tied into this. I mean, it's almost word soup of the most common phrases that we see that pique users' attention in the NFT space. And we've seen the demand. So I was watching this morning. I don't know exactly what Mint was. It was 0.25 last night, roughly flourish. It ramped to 0.7 this morning before retracing a bit. So certainly one to watch, and it's indicative of kind of the current market right now.
Yeah, I'm out on that, but it would have been a good mint, I'm sure. But it's 0.48 now. I just loaded it up, and
okay,
I wouldn't pre-reveal. But again, you also take risks. Like if they all look too similar, there's a lot of times the reveal can go poorly. And the other thing is everything's going to be metaverse ready. I think Keyboard Monkey put out a tweet like the metaverse is no one's even using it. It's not going to be used for like several years. But like even with the Bored Apes, right, or Wicked Craniums, it's almost free to get a metaverse 3D version of your 2D piece. To me, that's not really much of a selling point for me. Like it's metaverse ready. That's more just kind of buzzword bingo.
It's a very fair point, and I'm not a Pet Hooligans holder at this point, but it is obvious that there is some demand. in this
Yeah,
market.
but I just would caution in general for people like that. That to me doesn't mean that it's meaningless. Though you can go on Fiverr if you can pay $25 to get a 3D version of a 2D thing. A lot of projects are coming out that have it. A lot of projects are going to airdrop those to their holders. And again, no one's really using the metaverse now anyway, so you can deal with that in a few years when it's more, I guess, accessible.
Yeah, agree. Continuing to move through the board, a few other projects with some strong debuts this weekend. So we had Thingdoms. They've done over 1,100 ETH volume. These hoverboards from Jaidu, over 1,000. Then Croaks holding strong, a Toads derivative project that has certainly piqued a good amount of interest. Their 3D figures still pre-reveal here around a 0.28 floor. And then the last one I want to touch on is Proof Collective. So this is Kevin Rose's NFT. In a lot of ways, kind of a paid group NFT. The perks and utility are access to his private Discord, some in real life events, alpha from Kevin. Very interesting Dutch auction on Saturday. So it started at 5 ETH, 500 NFTs, about half sold right off the gun at 500. And then it was absolutely crickets while most of NFT Twitter flooded the drop. It ended up going down to 1 ETH where it flew, and it sold out the rest of the Dutch auction of the 500 at the 1 ETH floor. It has since come back up to 4. So clearly another one that there is real demand for. As we've seen Gary V's projects, now Kevin Rose being one of the most influential and fundamental names in this space. I think owners can expect some value to come out of that. Certainly will be an interesting one to watch.
I pretty much avoid the like paid group NFTs. Not like nothing against them. You just like our friend Andy says, you got to cut some stuff out in the space, and that's just an area I don't focus on. But there have been some nice wins there, and if you get, it'll pay for itself, right? If you get a winning trade out of that access to that group, it pays for itself, right? You've paid for the value of the NFT already on one trade. You easily can make more. Last thing I want to say though, I want to mention Croaks here. I loaded this up. It's 0.27 floor unrevealed. It's a Toads derivative by some other guy, not Gremplin, the main artist. Last night, Gremplin came out with a derivative for Christmas of Toads. So the main Toads artist, this guy's, a lot of people are really bullish on his career. Mistletoads, that is like a 0.13 floor. It's 0.165 now, so it's coming back up. I bought 3 of these last night at 0.17 average or so, and it came all the way down to 0.1. But it doesn't make sense to me that the derivative by, no offense to the artist, I don't know who this, but not the main Toads artist, would be double these. So to me, I bought because I was like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I tend to be aligned with you. So Mistletoads was a surprise drop from Grimplin, the artist behind Cryptoads. So this was free to claim for all Toads owners. Grimplin's famous artist, very well liked by the community. These are cool. They're new. It's new IP. It's new images versus Croaks, which is a derivative. I'm surprised by the price action as well.
Oh, it came way. Oh, it's down to 0.09. So it's like a third of the price. You get 3 of these or 1 Croaks, same amount of supply. To me, that's an obvious. If you wanted to choose one, I think this would be a better choice, in my opinion. But I'm touting my own bag because I bought 3 last night for double this price. So buyer beware. And
I will say, I did think that the Croaks project, of all the derivatives that we've seen, was one of the coolest. I do like the art on those 3D images, but I do think there's a difference between a pure derivative, which is essentially the same IP, from an unknown artist, versus a new project that is from a well-known artist. But the market will really test this out.
I'm surprised how many people who paid 3 ETH or whatever for a Toads are just like racing to get 0.1 back when it's from the same artist. That surprised me. I thought these would hold up better.
Yeah, I think it could be just part of that sell your airdrops mentality.
Yeah.
And just, take quick profits and move on. So I think there will be an initial dumping stage, and then we'll see what the true market value of these is, probably
I don't think it's gonna be anything crazy. Like I now probably I'm gonna lose money on this trade, but I'm just gonna hold them, and maybe next Christmas we'll get a little something in my stocking from these mistletoes.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. That's about 10 years in NFT time.
Yeah, I know.
All right, let's move into one-on-ones. So there wasn't a ton of action, from the super rare standpoint, but what we have seen is top artists dropping their PFP projects. So Async, the new platform that Xcopy, Coldie, and a lot of money did their debuts on here this week. So we had the pre-sale for whitelist holders went live yesterday. Public sale is tomorrow. We've got about half the supply out there, and already some pretty strong demand. So a lot of money is the floor at 0.9. Coldie's NFTs are holding strong around 2.4, 2.5 floor. Here you can see that style of the decentral eyes, which is an iconic structure or format of piece from Coldie. And then the headline is the Grifters. So Grifters is the Xcopy PFP project. You can see them here now. It's the big round faces, different colors in that Xcopy style. The floor is 7.5 right out of the gate. So these were 0.25 to mint. So anyone who is fortunate enough to mint is already up close to 30x. A lot of anticipation for the public sale. There's going to be about 300, I think, available in that public sale. So it will be maybe the gas war of the year. But
yeah, I'm not going to even try. That's like the sophisticated bot, MEV, flash bot. If it's just first come, first served, yeah, I'm not even going to bother. You basically are drawing dead to get one.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to watch. We've seen how botting can impact these drops, especially if the market kind of holds the line and doesn't buy from the bots who are looking to flip. And we've seen it tank markets. I'm curious, if one or two folks get a good chunk of these, what that's going to.
I think it's Xcopy. It's only 600 something of them. I think people aren't really going to hold that line very much. I'm not saying that if it's 7.5 now, you still have half the supply coming out. I'd be surprised to see them go under 5 personally. 6 kind of feels like I might see the floor, but I mean, I don't know.
I'm predicting 5 to 6 as well, but I will certainly be watching. This is one of the most anticipated of the year, certainly. Not pictured here. So Hackatal, Kings and Queens and Kings rather, also starting their pre-sale this week. We'll post it in the show notes, but he's got several options to get on the whitelist. They're not the cheapest, but for those who are interested to get some early access to his drop. A few other pieces I do want to show from the one-of-one space. So Killer Acid with the top sale of the past few days with As I Stepped Out of My Mind One Evening. You see the piece here, just the classic Killer Acid style. It sold to Jab X for 25 ETH here, 100,000 just 2 days ago. I think this is Killer Acid's final one-on-one piece for the year. I'll say Killer Acid is one of my favorite artists. I think he's going to go down as one of the top from this time period. It's very easy to identify his pieces. He has that style that is easily seen and known to be him. And it's cool. It's got that trippy art. So interested to see, where he goes next year with some of these. And this last piece, which we just announced this morning from the creator of Beavis and Butthead, King of the Hill, comes Dancing Dan, Mike Judge's Genesis NFT, now live on Super Rare. Originally created in the 90s. It also includes 3 signed physical sketches. Reserve price 120 ETH. So this is a big drop here in the last couple of weeks of the year. We'll be very curious if this does indeed sell at 120 or if we get into a bidding war here.
Yeah, I'm personally one aspect I don't like, and I don't like pay these prices anyway. But I'm not that big of a fan of like some old thing from the 90s or 80s. Let's put it onto the blockchain and mint it as an NFT, and then charge. I wouldn't pay all this money for some. Like, to me, I'm more interested in stuff that's organic from this time frame. And like the early stuff NFTs I would like are the 2017, 2016 type of time frame. This doesn't interest me at all. Like I'm this famous guy. I did this thing in the 90s, and now I'm just going to mint it and put it on the blockchain. It doesn't interest me at these prices, I guess I would say.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's not indicative of crypto art, right, or the NFT movement. It's more, Web 2 put on the blockchain.
Yeah.
Analogy. But
like if he's doing if Mike Judge, I'd rather pay 120 if he did something totally new.
I'm with you.
And yeah, that's just my opinion.
Certainly be interesting to watch. Let's move on and let's get into our blue chip PFPs. We'll go fairly rapid fire on this here today. We're showing the WGMI board again with that new 30-day change metric, which is a mixed board, though probably mostly red. So we've got the Genesis Kongs now up top at 68 floor. Punks have been steadily dropping since the Punk 4156 drama, now at 63.5, down 27% on the month. As we are getting closer and closer to a potential flippening, we see the Bored Ape Yacht Club at 52.9, holding strong on the Animoca news as of late, up 29% on the month, pretty much even on the week. From there, a pretty steep drop off. We've got Cool Cats at 6.75, actually up. It was around 6 just this morning. So we've seen some strong buying action today. Fairly even on the week, down 11% on the month. We've got CloneX now on the board. Interesting to see them stack up there at 6.4. The Mutant Apes actually down 10%, so not holding as strong as the Bored Apes there at 6 floor. And then rounding out closer to the bottom, we've got the Cryptodes coming in at 3 ETH, Meebits at 2.79, and Doodles at 2.6. So, having scanned through that, it is mostly red on the board. Brett, thoughts on what we're seeing? Is this the trend of there's not enough money in the ecosystem, so to support the rapid rise of CloneX, it just means that we're
that's gonna suck some money out. But we've also talked about in December, right? A lot of, like, if you bought so many of these projects, like Singularity, I think that hit a 20 floor, Alien Clock that might have hit a 20 floor. If people that bought in there, you basically now just want to sell no matter what. If you're up on the year, you're saving quite a bit. You save 40% or something on taxes. So you get it, you only get 3 ETH or something, but then you get another 40% of the difference between 3 and 20. So it makes sense to sell. I think that's part of it. I think part of it is also people that were just, FOMO'd in, and now you capitulate and come out. And there's more supply. So there's more money coming in this space, or maybe it's about the same. If the volume's all about the same. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's a few reasons. It's hard to pinpoint just one.
I tend to agree. It'll be very interesting how January, if these, especially in the art block space, if it was truly tax loss harvesting that really tanked a lot of these floors, which do appear to be pretty thin on a lot of these projects. And if we see some buying action at the end of the month, early January, as folks look to take advantage of some tax loss harvesting deals, or if the trend continues. So that's going to be really interesting to watch.
So we got, while we're on this page, it's not covered here, but Dante on Twitter asked if we can cover Merge from Murat Pak. And just real quickly, I bought one of those only. I honestly haven't even really checked it. I know you bought 11, I believe. And I honestly, Dante, I haven't paid a ton of attention to it. I bought the cheapest option because I like the floor. I feel that's always pretty safe. And the plan is going to be probably sell it relatively quickly, like within a month of the drop, is my strategy.
Yeah, and we can look to cover it in more depth on Friday's show. So I know that the marketplace was closed essentially. There was a bug in some aspect of the drop where I don't know if it was for users who were trying to move their NFTs off of Nifty Gateway and onto OpenSea, if that's where the problem was. But there was something with the merge mechanics that was leading to a bug. So they essentially paused the marketplace. But from what I've read on Twitter, it seemed to come with fairly positive market sentiment. It wasn't fudded from at least what I've seen. But like you, I also haven't checked in on the early market there. So we'll do some diligence on that and have a quick segment for Friday. Switching over to art blocks, I want to touch really quick, and you went into this a little bit. Just some headliners. Fidenza's at 75, but Ringers down at 38, down 30% on the month. That one is a true bloodbath. That was over 100. Elevated Deconstruction similarly above 100 now at 33. Pretty similar story through the rest of the board. Not really too much change on the archetypes, Unigrid, Subscapes front. And we'll publish those floors in our show notes. But one highlight for the week, Vortex by Jen Stark was the curated drop yesterday. I was very curious where it was going to mint out. It minted out right at the 0.75 price point in the Dutch auction. Went pretty fast. I think it was around a 0.85 effective cost to mint there. We saw the floors go up post mint, and they were sitting around 1.1, 1.2 there a bit. Have since retraced now a bit. But generally, from what I've seen, people are pretty happy with their mints. Jen Stark is a pretty popular artist. I feel like people who've seen her work in Brooklyn, in New York, really like her style. She seems to be a good person. So I'm very curious to see, what the longer term market reaction is to this.
I like these a lot personally. I think they're really well done. Now that since I've been trading NFTs this year, now I'm an art critic. I like them. And I like the trippy art is definitely one of my favorite genres. Speaking of Killer Acid earlier, but I don't like his price range. I guess not that I don't like his art. I'm just not paying 25 for a piece personally. I like these quite a bit. I haven't bought one. Probably not gonna buy. I'm not really buying anything art blocks right now. Although I do think there are some values potentially from a lot of the projects that have crashed way down. But it's something I'm gonna watch. Like if this thing really starts dropping from people just trying to flip it, if you look them up, they're animated. I think they're well done. Mm-hmm. So I may try and get a couple of these.
Users can interact with the piece as well. You can do a bit of dragging and interaction with the piece. I'd say my concern was if 1,000 supply set would be differentiated enough. But as we take a look at it right now, there appears to be a good amount of differentiation. I think there's actually some decent rares in this set as well, which is always interesting to see for these sets. So like you, I will be watching this one as well. All right, that rounds us out through art blocks. So we wanted to circle back on Hoodlums. So I believe Brett was on with me when we highlighted this, Genesis project of the Flow blockchain, their first PFP product. It's a 5,000 supply, not a 10K supply.
I love that.
The headline of the Sturdy Exchange website, which is the marketplace for Hoodlums and other projects on the Flow, is the VIP upgrade. So we see this wristband. It's an animated ad here, so to speak, on the exchange. Essentially, the way this is going to work is there's going to be 100 potential upgrades. They go live one day, 6 hours from now. I think the price point is around $23.45 or so. That's US dollars. So a bit, 0.6 ETH or so in ETH terms. And Brett, what do we get exactly out of this? So you're able to.
You upgrade an existing Hoodlum, you get to keep it. It lives in the original collection. There's going to be a new collection of up to 100 pieces and you can you get direction into the new piece. So if you have I have a blank canvas Hoodlum I'm thinking about using, where he's just bald, he just has his eyebrows and he's no shirt either, no accessories. Any accessories living on your Hoodlum stay. And then the artist, some Hoodlum, is going to add more features. You get to give them a name. You could create some backstory if you want. And so you're going to get a new custom one-of-one piece for this. I'm excited. I think it's a great idea. I think it's cool. I think the price point, the fact there's only 5,000 Hoodlums, I'm not sure how many owners there are, and it's 4 times the price of the Hoodlum floor. I'm not sure that this thing is going to sell out personally. I think it might not sell that many, but we'll see. I think it's cool. Hoodlum, they also have partnerships with a lot of musicians and stuff. They're teasing a Vegas residency is coming in 2022. So I like this project quite a bit. I'm just not sure how many people are going to spend. You got to spend 600 on the Hoodlum and then another, if it were priced at ETH, it would be like no issue, but dollars, man, it makes it a tougher sell.
Yeah. So I want to touch on the floor because you brought it up. So I'm going to show it here. This is the Sturdy Exchange Marketplace. The Hoodlum floor is $575 US right now. So for those who remember the mint, it was $123. So these are quietly up 5x. We saw the floor get close to 700 in the past week. We've seen what we think is some sell-off for folks who want to get some funds ready to do the upgrade. I'm curious, like you, what the demand is going to be. I'd say in a classic NFT project, people will pay 20x the floor price for the rares.
Yeah.
Now, I think the question is, are these 100 going to be rare enough to command that type of upside? I think that's the question on the table right now. Is there enough interest in this market right now? To me, my perspective on Hoodlums is that the lack of tools, data analysis, NFT chatter on the Flow blockchain projects just hinders this a bit. Like no one talks about this really. It's in its own corner of NFT Twitter, I'd say, and I spend a lot of time there.
Yeah. But the thing about Flow is they're very retail. I like Hoodlums is basically a bet on Flow blockchain, especially in the US where you can't easily buy the Flow token, which also is like quite priced up because only like 2% is circulating. But Flow is very user friendly, very retail friendly, right? It's a good user experience interacting with Flow. A lot of the projects you can just use your credit card and email address. It's way less intimidating than MetaMask. And Flow is also very good at these partnerships. Like we've seen, even Hoodlum, right? The Sturdy Exchange, they had Party Next Door, relatively big, not the biggest artist in the world, but not bad. NBA, NFL, Dr. Seuss. There's a lot of brands that are interacting with Flow, and I think that it might be like the retail onboarding platform, certainly over Ethereum or a lot of those other chains. It's MetaMask, that's intimidating. And so there's only 5,000 of these. I have a bunch, but I like them as a, just a bet that this environment, this ecosystem of Flow is where a lot of the new retail users sign up and that's their first stop. Like Top Shot was my first NFT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of us are trying to figure out, where the next round of users are going to come in and make their first purchases. I agree with you. I like how easy it is for retail to buy, with the US dollars, credit card, all of that. So those are all positives. I'd like to see some ETH pricing on some of these just for our crypto native buyers who think
put a toggle on like Top Shot did. You can toggle.
So that would be my advice to Sturdy and others. But like this product, similar to you, I'm holding several of these. None are for sale. No intentions of selling anytime soon. I think this is a longer term play. But we'll continue to check in on the Hoodlums here once a month or every few months. Brett, that was my list. Anything else on your mind that you want to cover here today?
No, we got we got everything I think is worth covering.
Awesome. Well, that's it. That's our show. Brett, thank you for joining me this afternoon. Thanks to our listeners and viewers for tuning in, as always. We will be back on Friday to recap the week, and I'll be joined by my man Skyhook. Till then, everybody, stay safe in those NFT streets. Goodbye.
Cheers.